So I essentially work in the intersection of art, technology, and activism. For me, photography is a means to an end rather than an end in itself. And I quite like to take advantage of that elasticity of photography and what it can achieve through its different forms and meanings. Centralia is actually a docufiction that tells the story of indigenous people who find themselves caught in a Maoist insurgency, sitting between environmental degradation, climate justice, and mass displacement. And we've seen historically the price people have paid for progress in the West. When we talk about the Native Americans in the westward expansion, you talk about Colombians, you see what's happening in Philippines where people are fighting back. And so I wanted to place Centralia within this larger global context to show that how historically we have paid this price if we remove indigenous people from their lands and rights. And now we see how it's impacting climate change and a global ecocide. Instead of making myself the sole arbiter and the moral authority over this story, I decided to invite other voices into the book, which is the voices of the women, female guerrillas, their narratives, invite the narratives of the tribal activists and journalists, and also have the voice of me as an author. My photographs sort of sit within these different voices that I invited inside the book to create a holistic narrative and some form of understanding of clash of perspectives that exist within this place, and try to give the audience their own sort of tools and methods of figuring out what the story is. The different paper type and the different design show you the different voices in the book and the different people who tell you their stories, and thus is presented in this sort of a multi-layered way. Presenting this book at the Photographer's Gallery for me meant opening up channels and different meanings of the book through different mediums. So the work is presented as photographs, as archival material, but also as a science fiction film of a very real global ecocide.
It is a feminist narrative that imagines that the only survivors of this ecological holocaust are a group of women sent out into the cosmos, a final act of survival. At its heart, the film asks a very simple, urgent question: how did humanity get here?
One of my works, Blood Speaks, have ended up resulting in a policy change and have changed laws before. So I think it's totally possible to take responsibility beyond just being an artist and seeing your works exhibited in art galleries and big festivals, and take it one step ahead and bring it back to the community where you're working and engage those communities and create a groundswell and swirl and think of how art can impact change.